Leningrad Oblast is a federal subject of Russia. It was established on August 1, 1927, although it was not until 1946 that the oblast's borders had been mostly settled in the present position. The oblast was named after the city of Leningrad. The oblast overlaps the historic region of Ingria and is bordered by Finland in the northwest, Estonia in the west, as well as 5 federal subjects of Russia: the Republic of Karelia in the northeast, Vologda Oblast in the east, Novgorod Oblast in the south, Pskov Oblast in the southwest, and the federal city of Saint Petersburg in the west. The first governor of Leningrad Oblast was Vadim Gustov. The current governor, since 2012, is Alexander Drozdenko. The oblast has an area of 84,500 square kilometers and a population of 1,716,868, up from 1,669,205 recorded in the 2002 census. The most populous town of the oblast is Gachina, with 88,659 inhabitants. Leningrad Oblast is highly industrialized. Geography: Leningrad Oblast is located around the Gulf of Finland and south of 2 Great Lakes of the European part of Russia, Lake Ladoga and Lake Onega. Its northeastern part, between the Gulf of Finland and Lake Ladoga, occupies the Karelian Isthmus. Some islands in the Gulf of Finland and Lake Ladoga also belong to the oblast. Much of the area of the oblast belongs to the drainage basin of the Neva, which is the only outflow of Lake Ladoga, whereas the Neva, which flows to the Gulf of Finland, is relatively short. Its drainage basin is enormously big and includes Lake Onega and Lake Ilmen as well. The Svir and the Volkhov flow from Lake Onega and Lake Ilmen, respectively, to Lake Ladoga. Other major tributaries of Lake Ladoga include the Vuoksi and the Sias. Rivers in the western part of the oblast flow to the Gulf of Finland. The 2 biggest rivers are the Luga and Donava, which makes the state border between Russia and Estonia. Minor areas in the east of the oblast belong to the river basin of the Chagodasha, a tributary of the Miloga and of the Suda, both in the basin of the Volga. Thus, the divide between the basins of the Baltic and Caspian Seas crosses the oblast. The Karelian Isthmus is a rocky terrain which hosts a lake district. The biggest lakes on the Karelian Isthmus are Lake Vuoksi, Lake Sukhadolskoye, and Lake Otradnoye. The rest of the area of the oblast is essentially flat. The exception is the Tikhvin Ridge, a chain of hills in the east of the oblast. Most of the area is covered by forests and swamps. Leningrad Oblast contains 2 nature-protected areas at the federal level: the Nizhny Zvirsky Nature Reserve and Emshinskoye Boloto Zakaznik, both created to protect forest and swamp landscapes of northwestern Russia. Flora: the most taxonomically diverse vascular plant families are Asteraceae, Cyperaceae, Poaceae and Rosaceae. By far the most diverse genus is Carex. The diversity in genera Hieracium, Ranunculus, Alchemilla, Gallium, Potamogton, Salix, Veronica, Viola, Juncus, Artemisia, Potentia, Rumex, Festuca, Epilobium, Poet trifolium, Campanula, Vicia, Lathyrus. Geranium is also considerable. The territory has no endemic plant taxa. Vascular plant species of Leningrad Oblast listed in the Red Data Book of Russia are Botrychium simplex, Cephalanthera rubra, Cypripedium calceolus, Epipogium affilium, Lobelia dortmana, Miraca gale, Ophrys insectifera, Orcus militaris, Pulsatilla pratensis, Pulsatilla venalis. History: Pre-Leningrad Oblast. The territory of present-day Leningrad Oblast was populated shortly after the end of the Weichsel glaciation and now hosts numerous archaeological remnants. The Volga trade route and trade route from the Varangians to the Greeks crossed the territory. Stara Ladoga, the first capital of legendary Rurik, founded in the 8th–9th century, is situated in the east of the oblast, on the Volkhov River. In the 12th–15th century, the territory was divided between the Kingdom of Sweden and Novgorod Republic and mostly populated mostly by various Baltic Finns people such as Karelians, Igorians and Vodstevepsians, as well as Ilmenslavs of Novgorod. During the Russo-Swedish Wars of the 15th–17th centuries, the border moved back and forth over the land. The central part of the territory is known as the historical region of Ingria, and in the 17th century, after most of the present-day territory of Leningrad Oblast was captured by Sweden with the Treaty of Stolbovo of 1617, became subject to substantial Finnish Lutheran population influx from Finnish Karelia and Savonia. Ingrian Finns soon became the dominant ethnic group. During the Great Northern War, the territory of what is now Leningrad Oblast was returned from Sweden by Russia under Peter the Great, who founded Saint Petersburg amidst the land in 1703, which soon became the capital of the Russian Empire. In 1708, most of the territory was organized into Ingria-Manland Governorate under Governor-General Alexander Menshikov. It was renamed Saint Petersburg Governorate in 1710. In 1721, the territorial concessions of Sweden were confirmed with the Treaty of Nystad. The life of the countryside was greatly influenced by the vicinity of the imperial capital, which became a growing market for its agricultural production as well as the main consumer of its mineral and forest resources. In 1719 to 1810, Ladoga Canal was dug between the Svir River and the Neva River as part of the Volga-Baltic waterway to bypass stormy waters of Lake Ladoga. Since the advent of the rail transport in the late 19th century, the areas in the vicinity of St. Petersburg had been a popular summer resort destinations for its residents. However, while St. Petersburg itself from the very beginning was populated mostly by Russians, it was not until the 20th century that its surrounding population was Russified. In 1914, with the beginning of World War I, St. Petersburg was renamed Petrograd and the governorate was accordingly renamed Petrograd Governorate. After the Russian Revolution, in 1918, the capital was transferred from Petrograd to Moscow, farther from the borders of the country. In 1919, during the Russian Civil War, the Northwestern White Army advancing from Estonia and led by Nikolai Yudenich tried to capture Petrograd and even managed to reach its southern outskirts, but the attack against the Red Army under Leon Trotsky ultimately failed, and Yudenich retreated back. The border with Estonia was established in the Russian-Estonian Treaty of Tartu of 1920. Ingrian Finns of North Ingria attempted to secede in 1918 to 1920, but were incorporated back with the Russian-Finnish Treaty of Tartu, which settled the border between Finland and Soviet Russia. In 1924, Petrograd was renamed Leningrad and Petrograd Governorate was again renamed accordingly. Leningrad Oblast was established on August 1, 1927 by the resolutions of the All-Russian Central Executive Committee on the establishment of Leningrad Oblast, and on the borders and composition of the okrugs of Leningrad Oblast by merging Cherepovets, Leningrad, Murmansk, Novgorod, and Pskov governorates. The territory of the oblast corresponded to the modern territories of the present-day Leningrad Oblast, Novgorod Oblast, Pskov Pskov Oblast, parts of Vologda Oblast, most of Murmansk Oblast, and the federal city of Saint Petersburg. The total area of the oblast was 360,400 square kilometers, more than 4 times larger than the modern entity. Administratively, the oblast was divided into 9 okrugs, each of which was in turn subdivided into districts. In 1929, Veliky Luki Okrug was transferred to newly formed Western Oblast. Leningrad was administratively separated from Leningrad Oblast in December 1931. In 1935, 5 southernmost districts were made part of Leningrad Oblast. In 1936, some parts of the territory of Leningrad suburban district of Leningrad was returned to Leningrad Oblast and divided into Vsevolozhsky district, Krasnoselsky district, Pogolovsky district and Slutsky district. Vologda Oblast, which has included the easternmost districts of Leningrad Oblast, was created in 1937. Murmansk Oblast was split from Leningrad Oblast in 1938. In the fall of 1934, the Forbidden Border Zone along the western border of the Soviet Union was established, where nobody could appear without special permission issued by the NKVD. It was officially only 7.5 kilometers deep initially, but along the Estonian border it extended to as much as 90 kilometers. The zone was to be free of Finnic and some other peoples who were considered politically unreliable. Starting from the 1929, the Soviet authorities carried out mass deportations of the Ingrian Finnish population of the oblast, which constituted majority in many rural localities as late as in the beginning of the century, to the east, replacing them with people from other parts of the Soviet Union. On November 30, 1939, the Soviet Union waged the Winter War against neighboring Finland and with the Moscow Peace Treaty in 1940 gained some territories, including Karelian Isthmus. The Karelian population was hastily evacuated to Inner Finland and later replaced with people from other parts of the Soviet Union. A small part of the territory was incorporated into Leningrad Oblast, the rest being included within the Karelo-Finnish Soviet Socialist Republic. In 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union in the Operation Barbarossa, and shortly thereafter the territory became place of the Battle of Leningrad. Wehrmacht captured the southwestern part of the oblast and reached Tikhvin in the east, while Finnish troops quickly recaptured the ceded territories in the continuation war, encircling Leningrad from the land. In 1944, Soviet offensives managed to expel Wehrmacht and put military pressure on Finland, which ceded Karelian Isthmus again with the Moscow Armistice of September 19, 1944. This time the gained territories of the Isthmus was incorporated within Leningrad Oblast. In 1947 the territorial gains were confirmed with the Paris Peace Treaty. Novgorod and Pskov Oblasts were formed out of the southern parts of Leningrad Oblast in 1944. In January 1945 a small part of the Estonian SSR to the east of the river Narva with the town of Jarnilin was transferred to the Russian SFSR and incorporated into Leningrad Oblast. Since then, the territory of Leningrad Oblast hasn't changed much, although some suburbs of Leningrad have been excluded from the oblast and incorporated into the city. In October 1946, Leningrad gained from the oblasts some former Finnish territories along the northern coast of the Gulf of Finland, divided into Sestaretsky district and Kurodny district, including the town of Terajoki. In 1953, Pavlovsky district of the oblast was abolished, and parts of its territory including Pavlovsk were made subordinate to Leningrad. In 1954 the settlement Slavashovo, part
Margolovo and Pasoshny were also transferred to Leningrad. In 1956, Boksytogorski district of Leningrad Oblast gained a small territory of Novgorod Oblast. Uratisk was transferred from the oblast to the city of Leningrad in 1963, Krasnoye Selo and several settlements nearby in 1973, Lomonosov in 1978. After a referendum in 1991, the city of Leningrad was renamed back to Saint Petersburg, but Leningrad Oblast retained its name. First secretaries of the Leningrad Oblast CPSU committee in the period when they were the most important authority in the oblast. The following first secretaries were appointed: 1927 to 1934 Sergei Mironovich Kirov, assassinated. 1934 to 1945 Andrei Andreevich Zhdanov, 1945–1946 Alexei Alexandrovich Kuznetsov, subsequently executed. 1946 to 1949 Pyotr Sergeyevich Popkov, subsequently executed. 1949 to 1953 Vasily Mikhailovich Andrianov. 1953 to 1957 Frol Romanovich Kozlov. 1957 to 1962 Ivan Vasilievich Spiridonov. 1962 to 1970 Vasily Sergeyevich Tolstikov. 1970 to 1983 Grigory Vasilievich Romanov. 1983 to 1985 Lev Nikolaevich Zaykov. 1985 to 1989 Yuri Filipovich Solovyov. 1989 to 1991 Boris Veniaminovich Gidaspov. Governors. Since 1991, governors were sometimes appointed and sometimes elected. 1991 to 1996 Alexander Semenovich Belyakov, head of the administration, appointed. 1996 to 1998 Vadim Anatolievich Gustov, governor, elected. 1998 to 2012 Valery Pavlovich Serdyukov, governor, elected, then appointed. 2012 Alexander Yuryevich Drozdenko, appointed. Administrative divisions. Administratively, Leningrad Oblast is divided into 17 districts and a town of oblast significance, Sosnovy Bor. Lomonosovsky district is the only one in Russia which has its administrative center located in the area of a different subject of Russian Federation. In terms of the area, the biggest administrative district is Podporozhsky district. The smallest one is Lomonosovsky district. Demographics. Population 1,716,868, 1,669,205, 1,661,173. Vital statistics for 2012: births 15,611, deaths 25,396. Total fertility rate. Leningrad Oblast currently has the lowest fertility rate in all of Russia. While birth rates have risen considerably elsewhere, they have remained stuck at a very low level in Leningrad Oblast. Ethnic groups. According to the 2010 census, the ethnic composition was Russian 92.7%, Ukrainian 2%, Belarusians 1.1%, Tatar 0.5%, Armenian 0.4%, Uzbek 0.4%, Azeri 0.3%, Finnish 0.3%, Romani 0.2%, Tajik 0.2%, Moldovan 0.2%,
VEPs 0.1%, others 1.6%. 114,747 people were registered from administrative databases and could not declare an ethnicity. It is estimated that the proportion of ethnicities in this group is the same as that of the declared group. Religion. According to a 2012 official survey, 55.1% of the population of Leningrad Oblast adheres to the Russian Orthodox Church. 4% are unaffiliated generic Christians, 1% are Muslims, 1% of the population adheres to the Slavic native faith, 1% are Old Believers. In addition, 20% of the population declared to be spiritual but not religious, 8% is atheist, and 9.9% follows other religions or did not give an answer to the question. Economy. Industry. The oblast, particularly the areas adjacent to St. Petersburg, is heavily industrialized. The major enterprises include the oil refinery in Kirishi, the Ford car assembly plant and the Rexam plc beverage and Europe and Asia packaging plant in Vsevolozhsk, the paper mill in Sestroy, and the paper mill and the plant producing oil platforms in Vyborg, and the Tikhvin industrial site in Tikhvin. Agriculture. The main agricultural specializations of the oblast state cattle breeding with meat and milk production, as well as poultry production. The main agricultural lands are in the east and in the southwest of the oblast. Transportation. St. Petersburg is a major railway hub, and all railways running to it cross also Leningrad Oblast. They connect St. Petersburg with Moscow, Helsinki via Vyborg, Murmansk via Petrozavodsk, Sortovala via Pryazsk, Tallinn via King Isep, Riga via Pskov, Vitebsk via Dno, and Veliki Novgorod. There is a network of railways at the Karelian Isthmus, in particular, connecting Vyborg and Pryazsk, as well as south of St. Petersburg. There are also railway lines connecting Vyman with Gdov via Slantsy, Vyman with Petergov via Sosnovy Bor, Mga with Sonkovo via Kirishi, Volkow with Vologda via Tikhvin and Chernipovets, Volkow with Tudova, and Lodenoipol with Sortovala via Olonets. Most of them support intensive passenger and cargo traffic. The western and the central parts of Leningrad Oblast are well covered by paved roads. The M10 highway connects St. Petersburg with Moscow via Veliki Novgorod in the south and with the Finnish border, continuing across the border to Helsinki, in the north. It is split between European routes E18 and E105, and much of it within the oblast is built as a dual carriageway. R21 highway runs from St. Petersburg to Murmansk via Petrozavodsk, and A180 connects St. Petersburg with Volgograd and continues across the Estonian border to Tallinn. R23 connects St. Petersburg with Pskov. It is a part of the E95. A114 runs to Vologda via Chernipovets, a paid motorway between St. Petersburg and Moscow in under construction. Roads are well served by bus traffic. The Luga, the Svir, the Volkhov, and the Neva are all navigable and heavily used for cargo transport. However, there is no passenger navigation within the oblast. The Onega Canal, shared with Vologda Oblast, serves as a bypass of Lake Onega from the south. Similarly, the Ladoga Canal bypasses Lake Ladoga from the east from the Svir to the Neva. It is a part of the Volga-Baltic waterway. In contrast, the Tikhvinskaya water system, connecting the Sis and the Miloga, which provided access from the Ladoga to the river basin of the Volga, is disused. The transborder Saimaa Canal connects Lake Saimaa in Finland with the Gulf of Finland, has special status, and is occasionally used for passenger navigation. Sluga, Vyborg, Vyborg, and Primorsk are the major sea terminals on the Gulf of Finland. Energy. The Leningrad nuclear power plant is located in the city of Sosnovy Bor. There are 4 major hydroelectric plants in the oblast. The Volkhov hydroelectric station, on the Volkhov River, was constructed in 1921 and became the first major hydropower station in the Soviet Union. The others are the Upper Svir hydroelectric station and the Lower Svir hydroelectric station, both on the Svir River, and the Narva hydroelectric station on the Narva River. Science and high-tech. There is a fair amount of science and high-tech institutions around St. Petersburg, some of which are located in the oblast. For example, Gatchina is the site of the Petersburg Nuclear Physics Institute, and Sosnovy Bor hosts the Research Institute of Optical and Electronic Devices. Culture and recreation. Architecture. The Volkhov and the Neva rivers were constituents of major trade routes since prehistory, and the banks are dotted by archaeological sites. Stara Ladoga has a number of pre-1700 sites, including 2 of about a couple of dozen standing pre-Mongol churches in Russia. Both of them were built in the 1160s. The Orshak fortress in Shlisselburg and the Kopory fortress, both built in the 14th century, and the Novgorod fortress, originally built in 1492, are excellent examples of Russian fortification art. Podporozhsky district contains the best samples of wooden ecclesiastical architecture in Leningrad Oblast, some of which are collectively referred to as Podporozhye. The Resurrection Church in the settlement of Varzhiny, the St. Nicholas Church in the village of Solzhenitsyn, the SDS Peter and Paul Chapel in the village of Zaozary, and the St. Athanasy Chapel in the village of Posad. The 2 other notable wooden churches are located in the villages of Gimrika and Shkaliki close to the Onega Lake shore. The center of Vyborg preserves many examples of medieval Swedish architecture, unique for Russia. After St. Petersburg was founded in 1703, many estates and residences were founded around the city. Some of them still stand and are listed as World Heritage Sites. Aggregated into the site of historic center of St. Petersburg and related groups of monuments, includes, among others, estates in Gostolitsy, Ropsha, and Tatsi. Localities in the Karelian Isthmus preserve some fine interwar Finnish architecture. The best-known example is the Vaapuri Municipal Library by Elva Aalto. Twin regions. Aarhus Municipality, Denmark. South Chungcheong Province, South Korea. Kyoto Prefecture, Japan. Lombardy, Italy. Lower Silesian Voivodeship, Poland. Nordland, Norway.